Thank you, Jan. This is the second time I'm speaking at Ecosummit, and it's a great opportunity to meet entrepreneurs with lots of ideas, lots of energy, etc. But the one thing I noticed was, unlike some of the other conferences, the name tags you get do not distinguish by color or other things who is an entrepreneur and who is a venture capitalist. So it's kind of becomes a little difficult to sort of see who to reach out to. So I have one simple tip for all those entrepreneurs who are looking for who the venture capitalist. Do you know how to find them? They are the only ones looking at the exit. So, and if they're not looking at the exit, they're probably not a good venture capitalist. So one of the reasons I thought it was important to have a conversation like this is for the entrepreneurs to understand what is it that we are interested in. In addition to money, time is the most important resource for entrepreneurs. And if you don't know which investors to approach because of what their level of interest is, what stages they are investing in, etc., it just is a waste of time for everyone involved. And I thought what we do today is share with you what we invest in and why. Let me step back a little bit. If you're a financial VC, life is a lot simpler. The only reason you exist is to make money. You invest X, and you want 3X, 5X, 10X, whatever your hurdle rate is. It's very simple. But if you're a corporate venture capitalist, it's a lot more complex than that. We invest for both financial and strategic reasons. And sometimes the pendulum keeps going back and forth. And that depends upon the strategy of the company, how well the fund is doing, is there been a new change in management, which is why I put a pendulum in there, because these things keep going back and forth, as you have seen perhaps in strategies from GE Ventures, from Intel, and a whole range of other companies. And the other question becomes, what is meant by strategic? It's not an easy question to answer. In fact, one of the most difficult questions, and ironically, one of the most important questions any corporate VC has to answer is, how do you define success? And again, for a financial VC, success is very simple. It's how much money you have made. For a corporate VC, the answer is a lot more complex. So the question then becomes, what is meant by strategic? Do you invest only in the core businesses, or do you invest in things that are adjacent to you? Do you invest in stuff which is ready today, or do you invest in stuff which won't be ready for another 5 or 10 years? Do you invest in stuff which is core or enabling technologies? There are a range of answers to this, and there is no perfect answer. And it's important for you as an entrepreneur to understand what is the investment appetite of the corporate venture group you're going to talk to. Now, the question then becomes financial or strategic? Which is more important? And I answer that with a small anecdote from a slightly different industry. In the US, we have a large group of hospitals called the Mercy Health System. And the Mercy Health System is run by a Catholic charity by some nuns who are known as Sisters of Mercy, and hence the name Mercy Health System. Now, contrary to what you might expect, even though it's run by nuns, they do charge for the services, and they in fact make a decent profit. And so the question was asked one day by a journalist to the Mother Superior, say, if you are a charitable organization, if you're Sisters of Mercy, why do you have to make a profit? And her answer simply was, no profit, no mercy. So I say that in the context of strategic or financial, which is, if you're not making money, it's going to be difficult for you to be strategic. So you really have to do a little bit of both. Where the pendulum fits is different, but I take comfort in the fact that I don't think I will be fired for making money. I'm yet to see a CEO bring in a corporate venture capitalist and say, I'm sorry, Peter, but you're making too much money for us, you're fired. So what do corporate venture capitalists invest in and why? And I have now the experience of 2 different corporate venture groups. As some of you may know, I started and I ran ABB Technology Ventures, and now I'm with Total. And so I have scars of many, many investing and many, many companies. It's very, very attractive and very interesting to invest in early-stage technology companies. It's very exciting to catch companies and the passion and the fervor of the entrepreneurs. You get early access to technology. It's obviously lower upfront investment cost. and a large upside if the company does well. But as we have seen in the last 5 or 10 years, perhaps with the exception of B2C companies, certainly in the B2B companies, it's taking longer and longer and longer for these companies to succeed. Traction is the single biggest challenge. So as all of us know, the 2 biggest risks in technology investing are technology risk and market risk. I would say, with rare exception of companies perhaps where chemistry is involved, storage and other things, market risk is the biggest challenge we face. And so it not only takes much longer for traction for these companies, but it's taking much, much longer for these companies to exit as well. And so what we have decided is that it just takes way too long to get traction. So we will not invest unless a company has shown some real customer traction. We want to see that there is a real market here. We want to see that there is a market product fit. We want to see that you can sell, and we want to see that there are customers who are willing to pay. We are seeing way too many companies with pilots. We are seeing way too many companies with some level of revenue, but getting from 1 million to 5 million or 5 million to 20 million is just taking longer and more difficult. And so we will invest mostly in companies which are showing some significant amount of revenue and year-on-year growth. And so our purpose really is to ensure that what we invest in is adequately de-risked. Now, you will say that one of the biggest things which VCs suffer from is what we refer to as FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Am I missing out on the next Google? Am I missing out on the next Airbnb? Am I missing out on the next Uber? And the answer is, in our space, there are really not that many unicorns. And so my fear is not fear of missing out. My fear is more about losing money. And so I'm taking a much more defensive strategy to investing. Now, I recognize that the disadvantages are that I'm paying a much higher price, et cetera, but I'm willing to take that risk. Having said that, I don't want to ignore innovation. I think that's critical, both in terms of access to innovation as well as encouraging it. So we are putting aside a certain amount of money to do very, very early stage. But for us to invest there, it has to be truly, truly disruptive and has to have tremendous financial and strategic potential. And what we will do is invest 10, 20, 50, 100,000 and sort of see where that goes. And we will sprinkle it over a whole range of companies, and then over time decide, do we just walk away because it's not getting the traction we think it should, or is this something we want to keep supporting? So from a seed investing perspective, we just want to have a very streamlined process. Some of you may be familiar with the concept of SAFE, which is simple agreement for future equity. So we will sort of take that approach to very early stage companies. So in a way, you could say we have a barbell approach, which is a majority of investments in late stage and a certain number in very, very early stage companies. From a sector focus, I would say, being an energy company, energy is clearly our primary focus, whether it's smart energy, distributed energy, renewables, et cetera. We are also very, very interested in mobility as a service, and the answer very simply is we own 17,000 service stations around the world, and there are ways for us to monetize those service stations. The business models over time will change with the coming of EVs and other things, so we want to figure out what role we have going forward, how do we play there. So corporate venturing becomes clearly an ideal way to sort of figure that out. Recycling is an area we're looking at as well. We have a significant downstream polymer business, and clearly if you're reading the newspapers, that's a major issue. But these are not hard and fast rules. We will sort of change them over time, and the one thing we are doing is moving away from opportunistic deals and looking at it more as a sector, studying the sector, figuring out who the players are, where the money is being made, et cetera. This is a quick snapshot of some of our more active companies we are invested in, and I'm happy to talk to you if anybody's interested. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity, Jan. It's a great job, and look forward to talking to any of you if you're interested.